Hi, I'm Seb Goldsmith and I'm Medigold Health's General Counsel and I'm a dyslexic thinker. I was diagnosed as dyslexic at the age of 24 when I failed some law exams while doing my conversion course. I'd prepared diligently and was really surprised when I failed. While I'd always found exams hard and sometimes not got the results I'd expected, this was on another level. I went to see the Dean of the college, who ran me through my exam papers and noted I had often begun sentences but moved on to the next before my first thought had been finished. He said he'd seen this before and I'd better go and get a dyslexia assessment. My little brother and big sister are both dyslexic and had received support at school for it. For them, it had presented in a very classic way: B's and D's the wrong way round when younger, difficulty reading words with them jumping around on the page, and that kind of thing. They were also both very arty and were musical, whereas I was more creative with writing and words. I'd always done quite well. I was a top speller. I couldn't be dyslexic, could I? Before I went to the assessment, the psychologist told me to send her all my old school reports. Luckily, my mum still had them, and when you read every report from reception to 18, some clear pictures emerge that are blindingly obvious compared to reading snapshots every term. The message in a nutshell was: Sebastian's intelligent, but we wish he would prepare more for his exams. Sometimes he could concentrate harder in class as he can be easily distracted. Sometimes his written work does not match his contributions in class. I took the test and the results were stark. My verbal IQ is really quite high, and so had been allowing me to compensate, but my processing speed is not at an equivalent level. The effect is that the contrast in my verbal score and my processing speed is 5 times the contrast that could be expected by chance. That's something experienced by only 1 in every 1,000 people. The psychologist noted that I can't scan unfamiliar visual information anywhere near as rapidly as my verbal abilities demand. There was a similar but less acute discrepancy between my verbal ability and my visual sequencing ability. So the skills my brain struggles with are visual organization, short-term memory recall, and a deficient processing speed. The upshot of that is that this is the reason why I'd always found I was copying notes off the board longer than everyone else, most of the time with them being rubbed off before I could get to the end, or the reason why I found it difficult to structure my essays, especially in exams. And this was all because of these discrepancies. The report highlighted something I'd felt but couldn't describe my entire life that I just thought was normal. One part of my brain is moving swiftly ahead of the other, which can't keep up. Anyone who has ever had a conversation with me and witnessed me pinging off on tangents with thoughts left hanging can attest to this. All of this has an impact on my day to day life. I'm constantly compensating and I feel intense frustration and tiredness. The psychologist said reading sophisticated text will not be a relaxing exercise, and Mr. Goldsmith will feel fatigued very quickly. Don't I know it? I've picked a wonderful career for that. However, it's not all bad. The report said Mr. Goldsmith has some lexical retrieval difficulties, i.e., word finding. He did not always select the relevant vocabulary, but gave an acceptable but circumlocuitous description or anecdote instead. This is something I've been doing my whole life. It's my superpower. Being able to consider theory and process verbally allows me to analyze language very quickly and write creatively. It's something I've used in my law career every single day. People have always complimented me on my birthday cards and thank you letters and newsletters and amusing emails, which unfortunately I don't get to send a lot of in my line of work anymore. But it's those skills which I've really benefited from my dyslexia. It explains why I gravitated towards languages at school. It also explains why I love crosswords and trivia and lateral thinking puzzles. It explains why I won longest game awards at school chess competitions, but ultimately never had the visual memory to think more than 3 moves ahead, so I never won the competitions themselves. The report and the subsequent workplace assessment I had when I got into work have helped me realise the adjustments I was making automatically and have given me some other strategies to try and lean into, such as keeping lists, prior preparation where possible, making sure I use a computer for written work so I can restructure my thoughts, and giving myself the required time to produce work where possible. I still miss out on the occasional word and leave a sentence hanging, but that's okay. Most of the time, people get the gist and they like what I can bring to the table. For other types of dyslexia, there are also amazing tools nowadays that can help. I don't feel my dyslexia holds me back, even if it does make my life sometimes a bit more complicated. It can also be an advantage. I can't stress enough how important I think it is to tell your employer. If they don't know, they can't make reasonable adjustments, like dictation software or productivity tools. If anyone thinks that's me or that's my son and daughter, I'd be really happy to speak to you. Thanks.